Hey, welcome to True-Moto-Resto, and today we take on the CBX750 bodywork. So today it's prep for the bodywork. Get all this stuff off to paint. So yeah, quite a bit of work involved in getting this stuff ready to go, but here it is. There's this is half of the lower belly pan. I kind of took all the fasteners off and separated it, and so there's a broken tab there, and there's a pretty good crack here. And then there's all kinds of friggin' epoxy and what probably is a fiberglass mat. So basically with a big crack you can see there in black, and then there's a kind of a spider crack back here. I plastic welded all of that from both sides, and then I also applied some plastics. So I gotta kind of smooth that out a little bit. I also repaired some of the tabs here as well. The only other thing I've found on plastic so far is up here on the fairing. There was a crack right through here. But what I'm doing now is I'm getting ready to remove the decals, which are clear coated over, and you can see here this tank has been painted, and then they masked off the decal before they repainted it, and then they clear coated over everything. And I think this crack here in the clear coat is just because now there's just so much clear coat on it, and I guess the expansion and contraction of the vinyl underneath caused this huge crack in the clear coat. So basically here's what I'm doing is just lightly heating the decal just to warm it. I don't want to put too much heat into this, especially being a fuel tank. Alright, so there's the other side all stripped off. Again, you can see right down the bare metal there. You can just see how thick this tank's been painted over top of the original factory paint, and this stuff is thick, really, really thick. Alright, here we are with the majority of the paint removed off one side of the tank. What I've done for now is I've left this. I haven't taken much of the paint off here because there is a skim of body filler. So I'm just going to sand this stuff just to see kind of what's underneath, because the paint remover tends to soften the filler, and this is a very, very old repair, but it hasn't buckled up or cracked or anything like that. So at this point I don't see any point in trying to dig that out only to do the same thing again. So I'll sand that by hand, and if I need to put a skim coat of surface filler on it, I will. Okay, well this is a bit of a clue as to why we had all the clear coat cracking. So I took the decal off, started scraping off paint, and there's another decal underneath, the original factory decal, I guess. Okay, so here we are with all the paint stripped off the tank, both sides, and I mean, obviously what you see here is there's still some primer and filler, so that's kind of as far as I've taken it down. Some of the stuff's got to get ground out because obviously there are dents where this filler was, but for the most part, and then there's still paint on that side because I know there's filler there as well. And but for now, I'm just going to put some etching primer on it so it doesn't rust. And here we are, etching primer, self-etching primer on the bare metal. And now I got time to just sort of work on these areas. I know there's filler without worrying about the bare metal going rusty. And so I sanded everything down, and this thing was, yeah, it was full of little dents all over the place. So there were ripples, there were dents, especially this front area. It was pretty dimpled up pretty good. And then so I stripped everything back as best I could, sanded it all off, most of it back to the bare metal, and then I put a skim coat of surface filler on it. So now the part that I hate the most, sanding the filler, what I've started to do here on these, this is the upper fairing. One of the other sections of the bodywork that has been painted in the past, and much like the gas tank, I need to take some of this paint off because you just maybe see right here, I've been able to scrape the clear coat off of this section with a razor blade. It really wasn't adhered very well to the color coat, so it's going to take me forever if I try to sand through this stuff. So I'm basically taking a razor blade and a scraper, and the long and laborious process of stripping all this stuff off before I start sanding and getting it ready for paint again. Okay, so I had a bit of a stubborn spot on the top of the tank here. I don't know if we can get any light in there or not, but maybe right there you can kind of see into the tank a little bit, and everything was getting pretty clean in here, except for the, turned out I put a camera inside and everything was looking good except for this kind of hump piece where the center part of the spine of the frame goes underneath the tank here, and I wasn't able to get the rust off it just because of the volume of rust removal liquid that I needed to put in. And so I thought about doing electrolysis, and then I finally decided to, since it was only this kind of hump piece, what I did, and it seemed to work quite nicely, is I picked up some muriatic acid, this stuff here, and I just used it very, very, very sparingly. You don't want to use a lot of this stuff. So basically I sucked up a little bit of muriatic acid into this syringe, and I dripped it onto the kind of the areas where there was a few rust spots on the top of that hump inside. And I probably used a total of maybe 2 or 3 syringefuls, and that was it. Once, that's all it took to clear that stuff off. And then what I did was I rinsed it with a total of about, I don't know, I ended up using maybe a half of this box, but I did it in increments of, like I used 4 liters of water and then a bunch of baking soda mixed together, poured that in the tank, pumped it all out, did another 4 liters of water and baking soda, switched it around, pumped it out, did another 4 liters of baking soda, water, flushed it out. I just kept doing that. First time or two you do it, you get a bunch of fizzing as it neutralizes the muriatic acid, and then after that it was just a case of just continuing to rinse it. And then I pumped all the water out, and when I couldn't get my my siphon to get everything out, to get the last little bits of it, I used my my drainage pump here, siphon pump. And it's got a really, really, really small nozzle on it, and it just basically pulls everything out. All the last bits of the water came out, and then once all the water was out, I put in half a bottle of isopropyl alcohol just to kind of get rid of whatever the last little bit of water that might be in there, just to kind of absorb that up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray a bit of WD-40 in there, but I'm also going to pour a bunch of WD-40. I got a big kind of, just 3.74 liters of WD-40. So that's going to go in there. That'll make sure I don't get any flash rusting, and then that'll just stay in the tank until it's ready to be recommissioned. So the other thing that I do with the muriatic acid is I make sure I store it always tightly sealed. And I'm very, very paranoid about this stuff, because if you leave it unsealed, and these vapors start getting out into your shop, it will rust everything. It's that's why when they sell this stuff, they seal it in this plastic bag. So I try to put it in a really big Ziploc bag, and then I don't even store it in the garage. I store it outside in the barn where it's got lots of aeration. I'm absolutely paranoid about this stuff rusting everything, so I don't keep it in the garage at all. I'm very, very careful when I use it. I use rubber gloves and a mask and all of that kind of stuff. It's a nasty, nasty stuff. It works really well, but you gotta be, I gotta be very, very careful when I use it. It's not to be taken lightly. It's a clear coat, just scrapes right off. Faster than sanding. All right, so here we are at the paint booth. I was in here yesterday and got all of the BodyWork set up. It's been in here overnight. It's all nice and warm. I just got everything wiped down. And very shortly, we'll get to painting. So this is after the second color coat. So just waiting probably about 20-25 minutes for this to flash off. And then we'll come back in and we'll do the clear coat. Time for clear coat. So it looks like it came out pretty well. So we're back at the shop, and I just brought all the bodywork home, and I gotta say I am really pleased as to how well this came out. I think this is my third paint job that I've done on the bikes, with my buddy giving me some lessons and guidance along the way, which is very much appreciated, and this is definitely the best one so far, so at least I'm getting better at it. So what will happen now is this will sit for at least a week to fully cure up, and then once that's done, I can start thinking about decals. The other thing that'll happen here is the fuel tank will get wet sanded, probably with 600 wet, just to dull off the clear coat before I put the decals on, because then that'll go back to the shop, the paint booth, and they'll get another coat of clear on top of the decals. So I'll sand that before the decals go on. But the reality is it's probably going to be more than a week before all that happens, because the bike is still under the cover, and we're still waiting for a carb kit, which has been now, I don't know, 5 weeks to come from Washington, USA to Ontario, Canada, which seems like a long time for a short distance. So we're still waiting for that. So hopefully it'll be here before Christmas. And then this bike really needs to be back together before I can put all of the bodywork on there, because what I don't want to do is try to put the decals on this bike while the bodywork is in pieces here. You really need to have everything on the bike. So because all the decals kind of flow, right? It flows from the upper fairing down through the tank and the side panels and up to the tail. And if you do it all piecemeal, even when you've got measurements, you know, everything's kind of has the potential to be all over the place, and it looks like the you know, the bike's kind of bent. So there we go. There's the update. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. And I continue to hope that the carb kit will be here soon, and I can get this next set of videos out and get the CBX750 finished. Thanks for watching.